Today's Insight Day has been focusing on reaching students at universities that we can't get to through our general graduate recruitment round. So we're really keen to open our doors to as many students as possible to give them a real insight into what it's like to work at the FSA. So we had around 30 students here today. They arrived at 10 o'clock this morning. We started off with just an overview of their objectives for attending the day, and then an introduction to who we are, what we do, and our key priorities within the financial sector. We then moved into a speed networking session where we invited some of our current graduates to come, and the students were divided into small groups, and they spent 5 minutes with each graduate finding out the area they work in, what happens on a typical day, what they like, what they don't like about working at the FSA. We then moved into an insight into risk, a case study which looked at the fundamentals of risk within the financial sector. So looking at the impact of risk, the probability of risk, and how we go about prioritising how we do our work at the FSA. We then tried to put that into context by taking it out of the financial sector and really looking at something that we felt students would be familiar with. So each group of students had a pub to look at. They had to brainstorm all the risks they felt that business would face, then look at them in terms of the impact of those risks, the probability of them happening, and then thinking about the kind of controls that they could put in place.
So something might be high probability, low impact, so it would be about here.
In the afternoon we did a skill session which looked at the key areas of our selection process. So we spent some time looking at the application form, the kind of key things that we look for on that. We talked a bit about competency interviews, how to break those down and how to really think about how recruiters look at competencies and how we might assess them as part of our process. We then did a group exercise where the students had to play a game called Survival, where they imagined they'd been marooned in the middle of the jungle and could only carry certain items with them. The students were split into two halves. Some of them did the exercise itself and the other half of them played the assessors, so they were able then to give feedback on how the group had performed.
Just to let you know, your assessments will be looking at 4 different competencies. So communicating clearly, decision making, flexibility and adaptability, collaboration and teamwork.
We finished the day with a panel discussion where we invited current graduates, recent graduates, and also a manager from the business to really talk about what it is that makes them want to work at the FSA and to answer some of the students' questions.
Your stage in your career, I would argue that you need to be more focused on what level of training and how is this going to work for my longer term advantage.
First, you've got to be proactive in the way that in the way you actually work. You've got to show some initiative. You've got to be thinking about why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this?
Regulation is the right career for you. Think about the sort of organisation it is that you want to work in.
We developed the Insight programme as a way of giving students a real insight into who the FSA are and what they do. We felt that just going on campus and presenting to them or standing at a careers fair was a good starting point, but it wasn't really enough to really show them what the FSA is all about and what we're trying to achieve. So the day is really about giving them everything from an insight into the type of work we do, to give them the opportunity to network with our people and to really understand what we're looking for and the kind of people that make really good FSA staff.
I think it's a really good way of understanding exactly what the FSA does and also their duties and why you should actually join the FSA.
I have to say it was a very interesting experience and I would definitely recommend people to come to this event.
The Insight Day today has been great. It's like nothing else I've been on. Everyone is so accommodating, everyone is so friendly. They really make a good first impression.